In a stunning move, Syrian pro-government forces have entered a key town held by U.S.-backed Kurdish forces. It's the first time Syria's military has entered the town of Manbij in 6 years. The Kurdish militia have held the town for years. They invited government troops to seize control to protect the town from a possible Turkish invasion. Turkey regards the U.S.-backed Kurdish fighters as a terrorist group and has threatened an assault against them. The Kurdish withdrawal from Manbij has been seen as a last resort option after U.S. President Donald Trump abruptly decided to pull out troops from Syria, alarming the Kurdish fighters who have fought ISIS alongside the U.S. for years. Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan said he will not launch an assault on the city if the Kurdish militia leave. Well, for more on this, I'm joined by Robert Riggs. He's an associate professor of Middle East religion and politics at the University of Bridgeport. He joins us from New York today. Welcome.
Thank you.
So this is quite a stunning move. Talk to me about the significance of the Kurdish militia withdrawing from Manbij.
This is significant but predictable because the Kurdish forces there were part of a group that had been formed at the behest of the U.S. a few years ago called the Syrian Democratic Forces. And they were the main ally, the boots on the ground that were helping the U.S. to fight with ISIS. And they're right on the border with Turkey, and they're considered an enemy of Turkey by the Turkish government because of their similar ideology and connections with the PKK, which is a Kurdish group that the Turkish government considers terrorists inside of Turkey. So them leaving that is a win for Turkey, but it's also a win for the Syrian government.
Exactly. And I mean, I sort of want to bring in the Trump's announcement talking about him, pulling troops out of Syria. The Kurdish militia, of course, concerned about this because they were working with the U.S. troops on battling ISIS. Is there a concern that there could be a resurgence then, now that the U.S. is out? I mean, they've brought in the pro-Syrian troops, but what's the concern here?
I think that the concern from the U.S. administration, apart from Donald Trump, was that, that they hadn't quite finished the job with ISIS in terms of its territorial control. And they do still control a very small amount of territory there. But I think that concern is not warranted because the Syrian government is now stronger than it has been in a long time, with Russia backing it. And the Russians were happy about this withdrawal. And so if the Syrian government finds itself working alongside of the Kurds, then the battle to finish off ISIS can continue as it had been. So I don't think that actually there's a good chance that ISIS will reconstitute itself in its territory. But that doesn't mean ISIS will disappear.
No, exactly. Where does Turkey come into play with all of this?
Well, Turkey is looking at this as a probable win, although I would say that the ideal situation for Turkey would have been if they could have occupied some of those border towns like they did with Afrin earlier in last year, and then contain that area as a buffer zone against the possibility of Kurdish militias moving across their border. So now it doesn't look like they'll be able to do that as easily.
Right. So then what are you now anticipating of what we're going to see now in the coming days? Because things have sort of unfolded ever since the president made his announcement just days ago.
What's likely to happen is that the Russians are going to negotiate some kind of a gradual withdrawal of the Turkish troops and replace them with Syrian army and Russian air support working with the Kurds. And as part of that negotiation, the Russians are going to agree with the Turks that they would make sure to keep the Kurdish militias away from the Turkish border. That's the main concern for Erdogan. And it looks like most likely that will happen.
All right. Robert Riggs, always a pleasure. Thanks a lot for your insights on this today.
Thank you.